Wrestling Extra.
A abrupt emergency, We Are Wrestling.
You only have so many spots on your roster. You can't have everybody.
They're going all in for these documentaries.
I want to be champion. I want to be the one to carry that flag.
You're a wrestler here? You're a wrestler?
It sucks seeing the real part of wrestling sometimes.
You're watching We Are Wrestling Extra.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the We Are Wrestling Predictions Champion, the best one, Donnie, here with...
What is going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man, and 1/3 or 1/4 of the We Are Wrestling podcast, man. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight, man, in this very strange and very odd time, man. 10 p.m. We're night owls, but we're not usually live this late. But it's going to be very interesting. I'm making no promises, man. Shit might get a little crazy. And if you guys didn't listen to the regular episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast, which is live every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, we did our full WrestleMania 42 predictions. So if you guys want to know who myself, Danny, and Rage predicted for both nights of WrestleMania, you could rewatch that. I know some of you in the live chat will probably want to ask WrestleMania-related questions, but we're here strictly to talk about wrestling news and some of the stuff that's been happening with TNA and AEW, because we've covered a lot of WWE in our predictions video. And man, We Are Wrestling has been killing it this week with so much content on the channel, just so much additional stuff that you guys could check out for free. But if you guys are not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're listening to this wherever you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star review, not just any review, a best one review, and download this episode, this extra, if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, over on the YouTube channel where you get the best pro wrestling content. And if you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you guys to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real. Grind is real, man. So are you prepared for this weekend, man? Shit's about to be crazy. We have SmackDown tomorrow night. We have the Hall of Fame tomorrow night. WrestleMania night 1, night 2, and then the Raw after Mania. It's gonna be crazy, man.
I feel like I am prepared. I've been doing a pretty good job. I've been really on the grind. The grind has definitely been real this week, because while working my shoot job, which is full time, first shift, I've been running the We Are Wrestling stuff with so much additional content, because we always like to go all out with WrestleMania, and even my toy channel, the Best One Donnie channel. There's been a lot of stuff this week. They just did a bunch of reveals for WWE World. I'm going to have to make a video on all that probably tomorrow after my shoot job. So yeah, there's been a lot of work that's been going on. I've been sitting in this chair, I feel like, the second I get home from my shoot job to the second I'm going to bed, and then I run off maybe 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and then it's just the same cycle again. So I can't wait until Tuesday morning where I could just go to my shoot job, come home, and just take a day off.
Yeah, when you're a fan this week, WrestleMania week is always it's fun because you get to there's so much going on or whatever. But when you're a content creator and you're sort of in it, and there's so much you need to concentrate on, you need to make content on, you need to be talking about all this stuff and covering all this stuff. It's crazy when you're a content creator, man. So.
It is crazy, but we got some maniacs here hanging out with us, some night owls. We got Dakota. Happy Thursday. Well, happy Thursday to you. We got Bradley. We Are Wrestling member in the live chat, always giving us love. What's up on a Thursday night? That's right. And if you guys do enjoy this, we're going to try to do this more often. as well.
I'm down, bro.
Callum Dallas. It looks like a new We Are Wrestling Maniac that we haven't seen before. Best wrestling week of the year. You got that right, pal. Josh Toy Show in the live chat. What's up, Danny and Donnie? Live on YouTube and Twitch, but wanted to say what's up. Guys, if Josh has been doing TNA Impact with live watch-alongs over on his page, if you guys want to go check that out. James All Day, what's going on, man? So much people hanging out with us. And extras, like we're going to try to do this for all the PLEs moving forward so that we can kind of keep things running smooth with the podcast, and even interviews that we're going to try to bring onto the show maybe every other month, once a month. When we do interview weeks, we'll also be doing extras covering the news at this time on a Thursday, because we got so far 10 people here with no advertising. So we do appreciate that a lot. Helps.
And we should also bring into light like the fact that, you know, we have, you know, behind the scenes or whatever, we have, you know, discussed at some point in the future potentially moving the podcast away from the 5 p.m. slot on Wednesdays. And so this is sort of like a we're testing the waters to see how things go, essentially.
And the thing that makes it so difficult is it would be easy if wrestling wasn't on every single night. So we really had to sit down and really think about when can we do an extra this week. And Danny and I agreed that maybe Thursday, 10 o'clock will be good. I know Danny's got TNA right now in the background. So if something crazy does happen, we could talk about it. I could even hop it on because it's an extra. There's really no script here, even though we do have a little bit of a format for this extra. But yeah, we got ourselves a pretty solid set of topics for this week's extras.
I'm excited, man. We
love the random matchups we got on the indie shows. I love a lot of the indie matches that we're supposed to get. The one that I'm definitely the most excited about, Callum, is probably the match that's going to be happening at GCW, Joey Janela versus Brody Lee's son. I can't wait for that match because Brody Lee's son has been grinding, man, in that dungeon. And
speaking of indie shows, I can and Donnie can 100% confirm that the Blitzkrieg Pro vlog is 100% in the can, edited, ready to go. So you guys will have that tomorrow at some point.
It will be up tomorrow. That is confirmed. And I cannot wait for you guys to see Rod Buddy.
It's almost 2 hours long. It's a fucking movie.
WWE fan goes to indie show part 2. And we're going to see how the 2-hour thing does. I feel like it's not going to do good analytically, but we'll see what happens. We'll probably do a lot of shorts we'll upload as well, because there's a lot of good clips.
There's a lot there's a lot that couldn't been cut out, and you don't want to cut out like some important moments or whatever. And on Blitzkrieg, it's like one banger match after the other. So there's limited space on what you can do editing wise. So.
That is true. And I think Rage could even confirm that too. But a couple things to advertise real quick before we do get into the extras. If you guys haven't got yourselves the brand new We Are Wrestling is Unreal shirt, it's available now on ProWrestlingTees.com with a bunch of other great designs. So if you want to get yourself some We Are Wrestling swag, go over to the Pro Wrestling Tees store. Also, this Saturday, WrestleMania Night 1. This Sunday, WrestleMania Night 2. We Are Wrestling will be live with a sold-out Best One living room on Saturday night. I think some of the boys are even going to be coming Sunday to watch the show as well because of how great that card looks. So we're going to be having quite some characters, outside characters, joining us.
It's going to be lit, man. Like, regardless of, the build, and we talked about it yesterday, like it's WrestleMania, so you can't help but to have some kind of excitement, just because like, it's like the Super Bowl, just like, like there's, you, for instance, the LA Rams weren't in the Super Bowl, this year or whatever, but you were still, it's the Super Bowl. So you're still excited to watch it. You're excited to, have like a Super Bowl party and like have food and stuff like that. Like, it's just like the atmosphere, you know what I mean? That's surrounding.
Yeah. Like right now, I'm a huge basketball fan, and NBA playoffs is about to begin. Right now is the play-in tournament where like the 4 teams that are in the 7th through the 10th seed have to face each other off. to earn the 7th and 8th spot to go against like 1 and 2. So those games have been really intense and getting me really excited for the playoffs. So
Yeah.
WrestleMania is just like that. Like you get your road to WrestleMania, and then of course like the championship, that is WrestleMania. That's how I feel with like AEW All In. That's how I feel with like TNA Bound for Glory. Dude, I am just so excited for WrestleMania this weekend, even though it was lackluster build. I'm still really excited about the matchups because I do think that that's one thing creative didn't get wrong this time around.
100%. But if you guys want to see our predictions, we were live yesterday at 5 p.m. You guys can, it's on the channel. Should be one of the latest live streams or whatever. Go and check it out because I feel like we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of insight. Plus, we put over one of the best WrestleManias ever, WrestleMania 17, which is the 25th anniversary this month. So pretty excited about that.
And that was a fun like watch back as well. So guys, if you haven't checked out the latest episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast, our WrestleMania 42 predictions, it is available now wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel.
100%.
So with that being said, there is one more thing I forgot. There's been some videos that have been uploaded to the We Are Wrestling channel this week that were unannounced. I actually got the opportunity to sit down with 3 of the 4 competitors that are competing for the We Are Wrestling Thunder Championship. We're doing a whole tournament for a new belt with our inner circle. And this is going to be a cool thing that we're going to do. We're going to probably do different like wrestling trivias, challenges, predictions. This is the title for the boys because we do always have a lot of people that are watch-alongs, and they always say, I called it. I know this. I know that. Well, guess what? They're going to be able to prove that with their own championship. So here is a quick little hype video so that you can get to know 4 of the guys that are competing for the Thunder Championship.
Yeah, bro, I got to highlight this real quick.
Yeah, okay. That's not happening. Not with those botched predictions you did yesterday.
This mean to me to be the first We Are Wrestling Thunder champion? Well, first off, Donnie, let me say this. If I win this belt, I'm going to have a bigger intro than you for it.
I'm going to prove to everyone, every single person, of why I am the best.
Ricky knows best, ladies and gentlemen. Ricky knows best. Believe in me. God bless you.
This championship would mean a lot. I was by your side when we first started, but this title means a lot, and it would be an honor to carry this title for this channel.
So with the We Are Wrestling Thunder Championship, Casual Cam will be going against Ricky Knows Best with WrestleMania predictions, while Jungle Boy Jordan will be going against Old School Phil. In the other bracket, the winners of each bracket will be going to the finals, which will be at SummerSlam, and we'll be crowning a brand new We Are Wrestling Thunder champion. There's a lot to be excited about. More additional content to the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, and this is a great way to let you guys get to know some of these characters. You obviously get to see Ricky Knows Best every other week at least with a segment on the show, but you don't really get to hear from Casual Cam. You get your Old School Phil appearances, you get your Rod Moneys, you also get your Jungle Boy Jordans in the vlogs. This will be a cool way to just try some new things on the channel. And then if it works, myself, Daddy, Rage, we'll probably start doing it as well. So I'm excited for this Thunder division.
Bro, I'm excited for the future and what like the future looks like for We Are Wrestling, man. It's all about growth. I feel like we're growing pretty steadily. We are so close to hitting 8,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I can taste it.
Are we 30? I think we're 30 away, right? As of right now.
I believe so. I don't know. You'd have to look on the channel on the YouTube studio, but I mean, we're really close, man. So if you guys have not, if there's anybody here that has not subscribed, please do so and help us hit 8K, man. Love to hit that, maybe
I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it right now. By night 2 WrestleMania watch along. We will hit 8K. If we do it by night 1, I will double the giveaway.
W-Sign79, my fucking guy. Yes, you did support us in Raleigh, North Carolina at SmackDown, man. That was awesome. I reposted your tweets. We appreciate it. I shared it with
We
Donnie
did share
and
it
the
on the
guys.
pod too and everything.
And yeah, we shared the photo on the podcast. So that was awesome. I appreciate it, man.
Wavy Boy likes the Thunder division. Appreciate that. And we'll answer this one because James has been a day one fan. Who did you guys predict to win the Intercontinental title ladder match?
I predicted Rey Mysterio because it makes sense a little bit or whatever. I see him defending it against Dom in like a title versus career match or something like that.
And I believe Ben agreed with you. He also had him locked in. Me, on the other hand, I had Penta retaining the title, James. But now, with that being said, it's time for the We Are Wrestling Extra TV recap. That's right. It is time for the We Are Wrestling Podcast Extra Weekly TV Recap. And there's not really any WWE things that we're going to be talking about except for our first TV recap, because we did talk about all the things that basically happened in our predictions video. Well, predictions episode of the We Are Wrestling Pod. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go watch it. Well, let's talk about somebody who's not on the WrestleMania card, who just made his debut last Friday on SmackDown. Royce Keys made his official in-ring debut. What was your thoughts overall on the presentation, the vignette, and the debut match on SmackDown?
I liked it. I was live for that SmackDown or whatever. It was a big moment. They were close to like where he grew up or whatever, so they were around his people. I've been seeing nothing but slander and backlash all over like social media and Twitter and stuff like that. Why did it take WWE so long to, put this guy on the show, whatever? He debuted at the Royal Rumble and, he hasn't been seen since, whatever. It's a process. You know what I mean? They're trying to make Royce Keys, into the biggest babyface in the entire company. Everything from like, growing up in the hood and growing up in, around drugs and shootings and, having to live with his grandparents and, his grandparents not like, liking that kind of lifestyle or whatever. And it was because of his grandfather or whatever that got him into pro wrestling. For weeks they showed clips from the Stephanie McMahon podcast, whatever, where he really talked about like they showed one clip he was crying about his brother, his brother risked his life, got shot or whatever. Somebody was gonna shoot Royce Keys, but his brother got in the way or whatever and ultimately took his life. They are trying to make this guy into the biggest babyface, and like doing that, like it takes time, because you got to figure out like what this guy's all about. They have to get this guy, like you can have him be on TV or whatever, but he can be on TV every week. Doesn't mean the audience is going to connect to you emotionally. And that's what they were trying to do with all those vignettes and video packages.
That was a well-said take on the Royce Keys thing. I will give you that. I thought it was brilliant with how patient they were, because that's the thing a lot of people have to remember, especially in the Ruthless Aggression PG era of the WWE. A lot of the times, these wrestlers, they just don't throw them like right on TV right away. You have to work dark matches. You have to work house shows to get your reps in so that the casuals get to know you. And that's basically what they've done the last couple months since Royce Keys debuted at the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble was a big stage for people to start paying attention to him. Now, going to the shows live, you get to see him wrestle on great way to get to know him. Great way for him to get his reps in, so that when he makes his debut, which he did this past Friday on SmackDown, it's a 10 out of 10. And that's what I give it, because the one thing that I always talk about that is missing in pro wrestling period in 2026 is the vignettes. Oh my goodness. 1 minute vignette can do so much for a talent more than wrestling 300 matches in a row. Because that's the thing, you get an in-depth story about the character, about the larger-than-life persona. And with Royce Keys, they gave me everything I wanted because that video package already got me excited, got me invested, got me excited for his debut match that happened. And I thought that he had a very strong outing. Berto, he's a fantastic worker in the ring, made Royce look like $1 million while not looking like a jobber at the same time, which is something I'm noticing with Triple H's creative. At least he lets the jobbers come out to the ring. They still get a couple moves. It's not just the quick 1, 2, 3. Royce looked great. And I hope that they continue picking up this momentum. And I thought that Jordan Grace, when she got called up from NXT, she could have used the vignettes. She could have used the main event, like dark matches, to really get comfortable. And immediately they decided to throw her right into the women's title picture, which I thought was a huge mistake because now she's completely lost in the fucking shuffle.
Yep, I agree. And James Alday said wasn't the age reveal thing the reason why they kept him off TV. Listen, guys, man, I know that was a report that came out from Meltzer. WWE is a multi-billion-dollar company. If you think for 1 second that they would sign somebody and not know about his background, not know the year he was born, his age, all that stuff, like, you're out of your mind. It's just not going to happen. That was just Dave Meltzer just, popping up at the mouth over some dumb shits.
And he's been saying a lot of dumb shit lately. We can confirm that because we literally have a wrestling podcast we do every week, and we have to talk about the news. And sometimes it's fucking tough to do with Dave Meltzer just trying to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks so that he could stay relevant. But man, Royce Keys, I was impressed with everything because I do see WWE, they do vignettes a lot, but they're too cinematic. Royce Keys felt old school vignette, and I loved it. Loved everything about it. Just 10 out of 10, man. They did
I've noticed that
Patience.
WWE, especially when it comes to like AEW talent, I noticed that they try their hardest with them a little bit more. It's not like with TNA, you have Jordan Grace, you have Joe Hendry or whatever, and like they're over, but people are just like starting to be like, okay, we get it,
Not the casuals.
But like, everybody from AEW, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Blake Monroe, like all these people, Royce Keys, like they're trying really hard to get these people over and get these people pushed, like being like, look what you guys could have had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Because that's the thing. WWE is investing a lot of money into these talent because that's one thing about AEW. You could say what you want about them when it comes to developing talent. They do a pretty good fucking job. It's just the lack of booking, which causes a guy like Ricky Saints to go over to WWE and have a somewhat better run.
The only one I would say that hasn't really like developed too much is Jade Cargill. But I mean, I will say like even somebody like her, like she's the WWE Women's Champion right now. So like, WWE are like, they're still trying with her. It's not like they were like, yeah, you suck, we're going to take you out of TV.
And I'll tell you this right now, if Jade Cargill didn't have the physique, if she didn't have the presentation that she has or the look, I can tell you this right now, she wouldn't be holding the championship. She wouldn't be working with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. And that's why like even myself and Rage were so passionate and excited at first when Jade got signed to WWE, because if there was any promotion in the world where somebody can improve, the one flaw that they have, and that's in ring, like it would be WWE. They would help her with that. But apparently they thought she was ready because AEW did a great job at protecting those flaws with doing those quick squash matches. She still has years to really get into the business. Like she's only been in it, well, now I think 4 or 5 years. But still, she should be picking this stuff up, and I feel like it's very slow paced.
I'll be right back. I gotta go get my food. I hear my wife calling. So talk amongst yourself and cover something or whatever.
You're good. But back to like what I was saying, guys. I do think that they really do need to take this approach with more of the talent, because at the end of the day, like what I was going to just say right now to you guys was Royce Keys, Powerhouse Hobbs, of course, we know who he is because anybody that listens to a wrestling podcast where wrestling fans like yourself are talking about the business, of course you know who Powerhouse Hobbs, of course you know who Royce Keys is. But the fans that are going to these shows, that are buying tickets to Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, a majority of WWE fans are casuals. They don't know what an AEW is. So that's why it's super important for WWE to build stock into the guys that they're signing from AEW or TNA or even the Indies or even like a pro athlete that they're turning into a professional wrestler. That's why vignettes are super important. That's why what they did this past Friday with Royce Keys, I really hope they just copy and paste doing that with everybody that gets called up, everybody that they sign, because it really does something for somebody. But let's move on now to the next TV recap, and we're going to get into some TNA Rebellion. EC3 made his return to TNA and attacked Eric Young. I couldn't believe it. I thought that EC3 was going to debut on the AMC premiere, which I thought it was going to happen with EC3. I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner than it did. I just feel bad that it happened wherever Rebellion took place because he got no pop. And for somebody who's been watching TNA since like day one, that hurt me, man. Because that's
kind of funny because, ironically enough, I think they said on commentary that it was in his hometown in Ohio.
Well, if I were him, I'd reside from Ohio. That was awful. That was so bad.
I mean,
and dude, they had the perfect opportunity to have him return when they booked Dixie Carter for the AMC premiere. And I feel like the reason why TNA is bringing back EC3 is because they're making it clear that they're going head to head with AEW, and they need somebody like an MJF in EC3 that is going to go to bat for TNA, because during the dying days, EC3 was the guy that was pretty much reviving TNA and getting people.
You don't necessarily need EC3 to, be that catalyst.
Okay, but here's the thing. EC3, he doesn't give a fuck what other people think. He's going to go on these interviews. He's going to say what he's got to say. He's going to be waving that TNA flag. So that's why, like, Carlos Silva, I'm not surprised at him signing EC3. And honestly, it's a great move, I think. EC3 just hasn't been the same since his NXT run.
EC3, he's the one person that has ever signed the WWE that is like, especially around the time Vince McMahon was still running things. Like, how did they allow him to slip through the cracks?
I don't get it.
I mean, EC3, he had the kind of body, like, as weird as it sounds, he had the kind of body and the kind of physique that Vince had wet dreams about. Like, we always hear in countless interviews, the fucking Hulk Hogan's and the fucking Ultimate Warriors, these big, beefed up, muscly dudes, you know what I mean?
He was built like a freaking Greek god, EC3, and he still is.
So the fact that that Vince McMahon didn't push him like he should have, I feel like around that time, Vince is so upset that TNA went head to head with the WWE back in the day when they were on Spike TV, that was, I'm gonna take their biggest star, make him into a joke. That seems like something Vince would do.
Yeah, it was one of those things because, like, I watched a video. I think it was from like WrestleLamia or one of those channels, and like they like pretty much covered a lot of that stuff. Like, if you notice, Sting, when he had his first in-ring match, it was at WrestleMania 31, went against Triple H. What did they do? Had Sting put over Triple H. And a lot of people thought it was a Vince McMahon, like, ego type of thing. Like, oh, I defeated you. Like, you can't be stronger than a WWE superstar type of thing. But EC3, I just never understood it. I always respected him, especially as a performer, because he always did try to like throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Took a lot of balls to do that control your narrative thing, which got everybody talking.
The Sting situation was different because if I remember correctly.
Oh, don't get me started with that, James. What happened to EC1 and 2? Dan Eddie loves that joke for some reason.
From what I remember, when Vince bought WCW, you know, when we had the Invasion storyline, like he brought over like Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, like he brought over a lot of guys. I think he tried to recruit Goldberg around the time because Goldberg didn't come in till 2003, you know, so 2 years later. And he tried to get Sting, but there was something on their WCW contract that, that even if the contract or even if the company was bought out, that they would still have a number of years to where they would still be able to, you know, get their paycheck or whatever. And Sting just had no interest in going to WWE around that time because they thought that they were going to book him like shit. So I feel like that was Vince's way of getting back at him. Like, motherfucker, you didn't want to come in when we first bought WCW. Like, I'm going to show you like that you shouldn't, you know, be coming around here now. So that's what.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where like main roster TV was like at an all-time low. So like WWE was trying to freshen things up on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. So they did like the most randomest like NXT call-ups ever without like any preparation. So everybody that got called up during that time really just got lost in the shuffle. And EC3 was one of them.
Notice how Sting, like he'll talk about TNA, he'll talk about AEW, WCW, like all this stuff. I don't think I've ever heard him talk about his time in WWE. It's almost like he wants to forget it. So, you know, there was stuff behind the scenes or whatever that, you know, he had to deal with.
Well, of course, but getting back into EC3 with TNA Rebellion, I wish the return got a bigger reception. I wish it was a lot better than it was, but I really, really hope that EC3 can get that fire back, because it seemed like with NWA, which I don't really watch, but I do pay attention periodically, it seemed like he did a really good job at reviving himself for a little bit there, holding the 10 pounds of gold. So I really just hope that he continues to pick that momentum up, like we're going back to 2015 when he was on top of the world as TNA World Champion.
Yep. I'm interested in seeing what he does. I'm glad he's back in TNA. It's the only place that he worked that actually booked him like, you know, a main event player or whatever. And the fact that now they're on a bigger network than they were on, you know, when he was in his heyday or whatever. Because that was like, what, 2013 when TNA was like fucking like they were almost out of business. You know what I mean?
No, that like they were still pretty good. He was like on Spike for a little bit, and then I believe they moved to Destination America, which still had like a decent viewership, not like the AMC numbers, but then like they really, really started to fall down. I think as soon as he left.
I'm pretty sure they started to go downhill with him as champion.
No, that was after. I could definitely confirm that. That was after. Because when he was champion, like viewership was starting to get back up and things were moving pretty smooth.
One thing I remember is
during the time where TNA was starting to die was when they had Austin Aries and Johnny Impact competing, and they had that whole off script thing. Like that's where TNA, like you could say, like, oh, that's where really the dying days were. Like
the one thing I remember
about the Hogan run.
The one thing I remember about EC3 was we talked about it before, like the feud with the Hardys and stuff like that. It's fun TV.
Oh, him and Matt, they had some great stuff. But let's move on to the next TV recap. At TNA Rebellion, Mustafa Ali defeated Trey Miguel to win the TNA International Championship. What's your thoughts on Mustafa winning the title?
You know,
I'll be right back.
I'm a fan of Mustafa Ali. You know, I've been a fan of him since WWE, and he was one of those guys that I'm like, you know, how could you, like, this dude is like, you know, he could be in the mid card, he can be in like the upper mid card or whatever. Like, he can pretty much wrestle any kind of match that you want him to wrestle. And like, he was just one of those guys to where I'm like, how could you fumble this guy? And I just thought about that when he was in WWE, because Like he had the entrance, he had the move set. You know, he had some good matches or whatever. You know, I think he did. I think he was involved in like 205 Live or whatever. But like, I don't feel like WWE ever capitalized on him. So the fact that now he's sort of like, you know, head of a stable, you know, he seems like he's getting pushed up the card or whatever. I like what he's doing, man. I've always been a fan of Mustafa Ali.
Oh, dude, I've always loved Mustafa Ali. I think the moment the news came out that he was in the Cruiserweight Classic and he was still working as a police officer while doing the tournament, like that right there just tells you how much he loves the business. Didn't expect anything in return, but gets a WWE contract, gets to be a part of the 205 Live. There was even one point where he was supposed to win Money in the Bank back in 2019 in Hartford, Connecticut, until they found out Brock Lesnar was able to come back. Mustafa was at one point supposed to win the Elimination Chamber during Kofi Mania, but then they decided he got injured, so Kofi took his spot and ended up winning. So with Ali, like I've always been such a big fan of his. And then even like towards the end, like with NXT, like he had a really good run with this new character that like he's gone all the way with TNA doing the whole Order 4.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of momentum with the North American Championship. And then next thing you know, he got the release. Sean was in shock. And then next thing you know, TNA, I think he's been a huge asset with the new regime happening over there. So I'm actually happy that he won the international title.
I am too. Like I like Trey Miguel or whatever, you know, and Trey Miguel actually got hurt during that match. He like did like a meteora to Ali on the stairs or whatever, and he messed up his knee pretty
Oh, TNA Lockdown's coming back. Yo, I'm excited for TNA Lockdown.
They might have mentioned that on the show, but I have it on mute, so
I'm at the. Hopefully, it's not on a date that I have something going on because I love me some Lockdown.
Slamversary is going to be in Boston. What the fuck are you doing?
Freaking, there's a mosquito freaking flying around in my area, driving me nuts. But Mustafa Ali, I'm happy about this. I do hope eventually, though, we could get him in the world title picture because I do want to see what he could do with basically like the brand being built around him.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's always something that like has always intrigued me. Shawn Michaels saw a lot in him. Obviously, Vince saw something in him if he was going to give him the WWE Championship. So, like, I would love to see like TNA really do something there with Ali.
I feel like he's at a good spot.
Yeah, I do too. I'll answer this question real quick. James all day. Why don't you do more reactions to TNA? Unfortunately, man, the viewership. That's why. I've tried uploading some TNA reactions. They don't really do good, like analytically and stuff. So that's why I haven't really done it. I still do watch it though.
You could with the TNA reactions, you could always save those for like a TikTok or Instagram exclusive.
Yeah, let me tell you, some WWE stuff might be Instagram and TikTok exclusive pretty soon. All right, let's move on to the last TV recap we have this week before we get into our Dynasty review.
Love the system.
At TNA Rebellion, Brian Myers and Bear Bronson of the System defeated the Hardys to win the TNA World Tag Team Championships. What's your thoughts on this?
To be honest, I'm not surprised. And like Bear Bronson, bro, like, you know, seeing him at Blitzkrieg and he was a part of the Iron Savages and like, you know, AEW and Ring of Honor before his fucking partner came out to be an asshole.
Piece of shit.
And, you know, just I feel like after the Iron Savages had to split apart, I feel like TK didn't take advantage of fucking Book Bronson how he should have. And so like when his contract expired and he went to TNA, best place for him. Now he's a part of the system. I mean, he beat the Hardys for the tag team titles with Brian Myers. Like, he's in a really good position. Like, I like the guy, man. Like, he's legitimately somebody that we hang out with at Blitzkrieg shows. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, he's cool. He's a cool guy. We only see him on TV. You know what I mean? You know, we get to know him on a little bit more of a personal level, whatever. So,
yeah, he's a super nice guy. him and his wife, Gabby, who's an up-and-coming wrestler. She's great as well. So much promise, so much upside.
I'll
for
be right
her.
back. My dogs are in here.
It's an extra. Good thing it ain't the real show. But with Bear Bronson, like, I've been just such a big fan of his work, and I did want to add to what Danny was saying. He didn't get signed to TNA right when he left AEW. He actually reinvented himself in the indies, started to take some death matches, had some great ones in GCW that caught a lot of fans' attention. Next thing you know, TNA, they give him a tryout and absolutely kills it. And now he's a part of this new era of TNA wrestling. And I will say, if there's anybody that's up and coming that I could definitely see as a future TNA World Heavyweight Champion, it's Bear Bronson. Also, I could definitely see WWE have an interest in him as well.
I can see Bear Bronson doing something in WWE, definitely.
But I do see like him possibly holding a TNA world title before he leaves at some point. Because I do think that TNA does have a lot of big plans for him. They're putting him in big spots, big moments. And I also love that he's still doing the Japan tours. He's still going out to the indies, having death matches, just doing his thing. And I love that he's continuing to prove to AEW why they fumbled. But every company fumbles at some point with certain talent.
Yep.
But I just love that Bear Bronson, instead of just letting his jobber run in AEW define his career, he went out and just squeezed them by the balls and went out and totally reinvented himself. And I'm so happy for him.
Imagine a system invasion in WWE.
I could see the Vision versus the System. That'd be pretty cool. The System I have been a big fan of since like the new TNA. Like they put a lot of stock into them. Like the chemistry's there. I actually really like that they did that swerve in the beginning of the year when Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Alicia, they turned on Moose. I loved it because now like it feels fresh again. And I love when a faction does that at times.
Bro, I called that, man. I called that on one of my streams or whatever, and I actually posted it on Instagram as a reaction. It was a segment of Alicia Edwards and Moose sitting backstage in the locker room talking, and in the video, I specifically say I was like, Alicia's gonna turn on Moose, and she actually shared she shared it on her Instagram story. Lo and behold, it happened.
Well, yeah, Alicia shares a lot of stuff on the socials. She's very talented as well. But man, Bear Bronson, like I do see what TNA is doing here. They're building him up like Batista with Evolution. And I think it's only a matter of time before he gets that big moment. And I think that he's going to be somebody for years that I do see TNA really building the company around.
Bear Bronson was trained at the Creative Pro? I didn't know that.
Yep. He was, which, man, that's another big thing too. Like Smart Mark talks about it all the time on the Major Pod. Out of all the wrestlers that were in the Creative Pro class, we're talking Chris Statlander, Max Caster, MJF, himself. Bear Bronson has been, he'll admit, Bear Bronson's always been the best worker with Creative Pro. Just never got the opportunity to show what he could do until now.
Bro, when you have somebody that trained you, be like, out of all those names, Chris Statlander, MJF, and have one of your trainers being like, yeah, you're one of the best workers outside of all of them. I mean, MJF is a superstar. You know what I mean? So the fact that Bear Bronson is a better worker than MJF in a lot of ways.
That's what Mark Sterling said.
That's crazy.
But that's the thing too. Like I've known this for years, how good Bear Bronson is, because I paid really close attention to Creative Pro because the early days of Blitzkrieg Pro, the reason why they were able to get off their feet was because Brian Myers had a good relationship with Jeremy Leary. So Jeremy would book a lot of Brian's guys that he was training at Cap. And now we see Cap guys in like every other match. And they're all killing it. They're all so good.
It's weird, like, going back to, like, 20, 16, 2017 or whatever, and seeing a young ass MJF and fucking in a little bingo hall in fucking Westfield, Mass, and being like, at a Blitzkrieg show.
Oh, I saw him in Enfield on a baseball field. Met him for $10.
I saw a video. It was like some little like pool hole that Blitzkrieg was running.
Yep,
and he was
Westfield.
like he was sitting at a fucking table next to a door, signing like he had his little gimmick table, whatever. Seeing him go from that to where he is now is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, he's a We Are Wrestling Maniac, which is even crazier. Him actually seeing the compilation video and knowing who we are. It's crazy. But man, TNA, they're doing some good television right now. We highly recommend you guys watch it. But congratulations to Bear Bronson and Brian Myers for winning the title. And I know Brian was talking about it on the 400th episode of the Major Pod. He is really happy about getting this opportunity to team with like one of the people he first trained. He was talking about how Bear Bronson was only 18 years old going into his school. And now the fact that like he's holding World Tag Team Champions with him, it's a cool moment for him. And he loves it.
That's awesome, man.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think it's time for the AEW Dynasty review. What do you say?
Let's get into it, bro.
All right. Here we go. With AEW Dynasty, which I do want to shout out all the Maniacs that were a part of the live watch along with me last Sunday for this pay-per-view. It was a great time, and I love me an AEW pay-per-view. So here we go. And we got the right background now. Starting off, we did have some pre-show matches. We're just gonna just talk about it real quick. Alex Windsor versus Marina Shafir. Then we had Camilla make her return. She had a squash match. Camille making her return. Squash match, attacked Willow backstage, and we got a match against them on Dynamite. Then we did have a AEW National Championship title defense, Jack Perry versus Mark Davis. I will say this was an underrated match. Jack Perry ends up retaining the title. And then we also did have a women's tag team match with Lita Cross and Megan Baines versus a couple Ring of Honor women. Another squash match for the pre-show. Then we get into the main card, starting off with our opening match, the Young Bucks versus Okada and Takeshita. I'll let you take this one away.
This match was actually really good. This was, if I remember correctly, like, from experience, I know from experience, like, this is why I say, like, I feel like AEW, they put on banger shows, but they have too many matches on the shows. So, like, they end up jumbling within each other. You know what I mean? Because you see a lot of similar spots and a lot of different matches or whatever. I remember liking this match. I was very high on it. I called it before it actually happened that, there was going to be, some tension there between Okada and Takeshita. And there was. Takeshita did not go in there and, save Okada from, the pinfall loss from, can't remember if it was Nick or Matt or whatever.
Great finish.
It was a fantastic match, man. Like, when the Young Bucks want to work, they can work. You know what I mean? And like Takeshita is still one of the best to ever do it. Okada, he's the Rainmaker, man. What else can you say? So having like, just the fact that this opened the show, it's kind of crazy to me.
I loved the spot with Okada taking the Young Bucks gear and just wearing it. And
bro, that was hilarious.
Being an asshole. I love comedy Okada, but he also is so good at balancing the two. Still being the Rainmaker, still being a serious wrestler, while at the same time being entertaining. And that's one thing that I really like about his run with AEW thus far. But I did really like the spot with Takeshita. I thought the timing was right. I can't wait to see what they do now with the Continental title, or not the Continental, International title with Okada and Takeshita. And I really hope that they are setting Takeshita up to win the belt at like All In or something.
Yep.
Or probably Forbidden Door. But now getting into the next match here, I'll take this one away. Chris Jericho has his first match back at AEW after being on the sidelines for over a year versus Ricochet. And I will say, man, overall, besides the finish, and we'll talk about that afterwards, I truly enjoyed this match, and I thought this was one of Jericho's best matches in AEW in a very, very long time. And I thought putting Ricochet in the ring with him was definitely the right call, because this felt like an old school Chris Jericho match. You got all the spots. Like, I even remember like him doing like the kick to like the ribs. Haven't got to see that from Jericho in a long time. And I just thought like Ricochet really brought out the best in him. And I think even Jericho gave Ricochet probably his best match in AEW thus far.
Yeah.
But the problem here that I have is the finish. Ricochet defeats Chris Jericho.
I don't have
But I understand why they did it.
I don't have an issue with the finish necessarily. I have a issue with how it was constructed. Like, all I've heard, the last several years of Jericho's run in AEW is, this guy's old, he's washed, he's an old WWE reject, Last year before he fought during the learning tree or whatever, like people were literally chanting during his matches, please retire, you know what I mean? And you have this guy who you're trying your best to get over. You're trying, like, you're putting him in big situations. The Demand feuded with the Hurt Syndicate for a long time. Like, AEW has been trying to get these three over. And like, my issue is it took 3 people to beat a 55-year-old Chris Jericho. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, that's not, I don't like people. I've heard mixed opinions. I've heard that people were okay with it, and I heard people were absolutely shitting on it. I'm just like
it.
Like, I just don't think it makes Ricochet look strong. And I feel like
see, that's the thing. Like, he's a chicken shit heel. That's why, like, I will say from that perspective, I do like the decision here, because it did take Ricochet's Gates of Agony, his other members of the Demand, to help him beat Jericho, so that eventually we do get that bigger payoff where the babyface does beat the heel. Because I do see them probably dragging this on until Double or Nothing, and I think Jericho will beat Ricochet at that show.
Also, I gotta address the elephant in the room of revolving this match. All right, and this is like an ongoing thing with AEW, so it's not just solely like, a Jericho situation or a Demand situation, whatever. But it's something that happens a lot that needs a fucking stop. And that is the camera angles and the camera shots. There was one shot where Jericho is leaning up against the ropes. He's sitting down or whatever, like, close to where the stage is. And he has his arm outside the ropes. And you can literally, clear as day. It's almost like if we're sitting here and I'm like, what's going on, Donnie? Like, you could literally see him shaking his arm, being like, come on, grab my arm. He's telling, I think, Toa Leona to literally grab his arm and work on the arm, work on the shoulder. And I'm just like, once I saw that, it kind of threw me off a little bit. Like, it threw me out of the match. Like, I understand what pro wrestling is. Obviously, I'm not an idiot, but like, I don't really want to see that kind of stuff. Like, like, figure out a way with different camera angles or whatever to make it seem a little bit more authentic than it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, WWE has the same problem too.
I fucking hate seeing it.
Since Kevin Dunn hasn't been a production truck.
There's
been good things at the same time too.
Yeah, but
there's pros and cons with production.
There was several shots in AEW to where, like, very known shots or whatever, where like somebody gets hit in the head with a chair and the camera is literally zoomed in while they're fucking blading. I remember that was a big thing fucking couple years ago. It's like,
but here's the thing though. All production like should be a lot better. There's pros and cons. It's not going
especially
to be,
when you know the spots,
perfect.
you know what's going to be happening. You would think they'd be like, okay, this spot's going to be happening here. Let's switch angles and fucking maybe do an aerial shot or something like that. Like, don't do a close up of, a worked spot. You know what I mean?
So Ricochet ends up winning the match against Jericho. I thought this was the best outing that both of these guys have had in a very long time. And honestly, I hope that the feud does continue and Jericho gets the win, because that's an old school way of booking.
Last night on Dynamite, Jericho got beat up by the Demand, so it's not looking that good.
Good. All right. We'll let you take away with this one. Take it away.
Andrade and Darby, and this was the match. So there was a story on Dynamite. Like, yes, AEW does have story. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean they're good ones. There was a story throughout AEW TV, for those of you that don't watch Dynamite and stuff like that. MJF requested the services of the Don Callis family for a sum of money that I don't think it was disclosed. But he wanted help because Darby Allin has been wanting a title shot. So if Darby Allin would have lost this match, then I think Andrade would have gotten the title shot and not Darby Allin. And apparently, in AEW, you want to be scared of the fucking dude that weighs 120 pounds, instead of, somebody that looks like Andrade. I don't understand.
Well, I am so fucking sick of hearing that with the 120 pounds bullshit. Give me a break. And it's not just you. It's fucking, I've heard it from multiple people. Yeah, basically from everybody. The reason why people fear Darby Allin is because he doesn't fear anything. Darby Allin, you could literally throw this man down a flight of stairs.
I'm pretty sure we've seen that.
He will kick out at one.
I'm pretty sure we've seen that.
There's no giving up with him. There's heart. Yeah. And that's something that, has been missing in pro wrestling for years with Darby Allin. So, I think, people continue to throw the weight thing as a thing. Yeah, maybe the coffin drop should be a signature move, not the finisher. Yeah. But, dude, Darby can wrestle. This match, proved that he could wrestle. Him and Andrade had a great, technical match, and they didn't really have to bring weapons involved here.
Yeah. This was a really good match, I will say. And I don't want to say, things like that in a derogatory term or sense or whatever to Darby Allin. If anybody knows that I'm a huge Darby Allin fan, it's fucking you. You know what I mean? I fucking love this guy. He's fucking amazing.
I get the believability.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Who would you rather get in a fight with? Somebody that looks like Darby Allin or somebody that looks like Andrade? You know what I mean?
I'd rather get into a fight with Andrade because Darby Allin's a fucking crazy motherfucker. Are you kidding me? He got back in the freaking Sting's final match after freaking getting off a freaking doing a front flip off a ladder onto real glass. You kidding me? Darby Allin should have not gotten up, but guess what? He got up. Andrade, he's probably staying down. So if there's anybody that I'm not fucking with, it's Darby Allin.
Yeah, I can look at it from that point too. But
I do get the old school philosophy, but it's at the same time, it's those are the people that you don't fuck with are guys like Darby Allin who you could punch 100 times. He's just going to get up and laugh right in your face.
Yep. But this match was fun.
Great match.
One thing that Andrade's been doing a lot on TV is having these supermodel type women at ringside or whatever and taking selfies or whatever. And it kind of looks cheesy because after his match is over, they just automatically fucking disappear. But I mean, this was a good match, and it ultimately led to what happened last night, which we'll be talking about later on. And so shout out to these two, and Andrade shook Darby Allin's hand at the end of the match, showed him respect. So what is that? Is that had to set Don Callis off? So what's going to be the dynamic with Andrade in the Don Callis family going to be?
I think it's gonna be a slow babyface turn. I don't see it happening overnight. I think that this is gonna be a slow thing that they're gonna do because Andrade is getting a reaction now, especially since doing the whole selfie thing, getting the girls' numbers during the match, taking off the longer tights to be in the trunks. I think that there's big plans for Andrade, and I think I see him going down as a babyface pretty soon. Because I do think that we are going to get a lengthy program with him and MJF. They've been teasing it.
Something's happening within the Don Callis family because not only is, Andrade, sort of in hot water, but so was Konosuke because he did not help Okada. So, there's going to be a lot of things happening, within that faction.
We're actually getting story. But moving on to the next match we have here for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. FTR defends the titles against Cage and Cope. And man, this right here is a good old school tag team title match.
Yep.
Amazing. Everything about this match was fantastic. This is the match, I believe, FTR, this was their dream match for years. They wanted to work with Adam Copeland and Christian. I believe Cash Wheeler went under Adam Copeland's wing because they live in the same area. So that's kind of why they did the whole rated FTR thing. And then eventually FTR turned heel on him. And I thought that this was just a fantastic match. I love Stokely being with FTR. I think that finally adds a new dynamic to the tag team, which makes it more exciting. I feel like I never want to see FTR as baby faces ever again with how good they are with Stokely. Cage and Cope, I thought at the end of the match when FTR did win, I thought Christian was going to turn on Edge, which I'm glad he didn't.
I'm kind of surprised that Copeland and Christian lost, just because of everything that FTR put them through.
I'm not.
I will say my issue with this match and this whole feud in general, other people have said it. I'm not the first one or whatever, but I do kind of feel like too much time has passed. We had at All Out in Toronto, I believe we had, FTR take out Beth Phoenix, and Adam Copeland had to, just sit there and watch. Christian was, incapacitated. But that was the last time we saw or heard anything until recently. You know what I mean? It's like they didn't even try to remind people, throughout the last several months about what they had. They didn't brag about it. They didn't we took out the great Beth Phoenix, Adam Copeland is on the show because of us. We're big bad dudes or whatever, So I'm not as invested as I feel like I should be when it comes to this story, just because I feel like it's a missed opportunity. You do something devastating, taking out Beth Phoenix with a nasty ass pile driver and literally handcuffing Adam Copeland and making him watch what you're doing to his wife. And while they're gone, you're not even gonna attempt to brag about it or really get some investment to the story behind it, because they're gonna end up coming back and wanting revenge. But they had no mention of it. It happened, and then nobody mentioned anything until Adam Copeland and Christian returned. I just feel like that was a huge missed opportunity, and it threw me out of the story a little bit.
I agree with that. It would have been an easy way for FTR to get more heat with the crowd.
Especially since they've been heat magnets the last several months.
I will say one thing I really like, since we've been getting Adam Copeland and Christian teaming together.
Mm-hmm.
Loving the old school gear that Adam Copeland's wearing. Love it. But FTR walks away, and this match I was on my tippy toes throughout the entire match. And I knew FTR was going to end up winning this because I do feel like they are setting up a big TLC match, probably for AEW All In. And I think that's where Adam Copeland and Christian, they're going to save it for a bigger show.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think when Adam Copeland and Christian Cage finally win the tag titles, do you think after 25 years we are going to be seeing, with those benefit of flash photography, 5-second poses?
Oh, we're definitely getting the 5-second pose. FTR mocked them and did a 10-second pose.
I know.
That was good. All right, I'll let you take away.
Tony Khan wants to live in the past, and he wants to, he wants to have his own TLC match or whatever, they had with the Hardys and Dudleys. So,
all right, well, I'll let you take it away with this one.
Yes, this was the Casino Gauntlet. I feel like they do these matches too much. When AEW first started, they had this at, it was strictly a Double or Nothing thing, whatever, because of the whole, casino theme. And it just seemed
but it was different. The first ones, it was a battle royal. This one's a gauntlet. And they actually started the gauntlet concept actually started with AEW All In last year in Texas.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's the second time they've done this.
It's very similar, you know, like, you know, there's differences or whatever, but it's, you know, a battle royal. You have in, you know, intervals, you have, you know, two people start, and then you have, you know, a couple minutes later, you have somebody else. Yeah. And so it's very similar in a lot of ways. It's just, it's not like an elimination base, which is what a battle royal is.
I love the concept of the Casino Gauntlet. I love this shit because, especially due to the unfortunate circumstances of Kyle Fletcher getting injured, having to vacate the title, having the TNT title on the line here, it was really anybody's game. And I thought that maybe we were going to get like a return of like Jay White or somebody that was going to come back and win. But I was quite surprised, though, to see that Kevin Knight, they really are putting some stock into this kid, and he's pretty good.
Bro, speaking of I forgot what I was going to say. It's late. This match was okay. You know, it wasn't anything great. I love the winner though. You know, I've talked to Kevin Knight. You know, we've DM'd on Instagram a couple times or whatever. Really cool dude. I sent him a DM after the show, and I was like, you know, congrats on the title, man. And you know, so he is. It seems like Tony Khan sees something in this kid. You know, like he's been. I think he had a match with MJF. You know, so did Speedball, whatever. Like he has more of what's the word I'm looking for, man? It's
charisma.
Not that, but like it just seems like Tony Khan is like he's, instead of booking, you know, the same people over and over in a good spot, it seems like he's sort of opening up and having more of a variety. You know what I mean?
Well, but that's like one of the things too that's like always been a pro of Tony Khan's booking, because a lot of the times we only cover the flaws because the flaws outweigh the pros. But that's one thing that Tony Khan has always done, is give guys opportunities. Now, let's see what
I mean, bro. You had Chris Jericho as the first AEW World Champion. I wouldn't necessarily say Tony Khan is like the king of...
my god! They gave him the title because they were going on a brand new network, and you needed to have somebody who was established hold the title so that you could get some of these homegrown guys over. You needed TV time to build up TV. Like MJF, you gave him the title right away as first champion, it wouldn't have meant nothing.
Okay, so
he needed time.
They go from Jericho.
Had to work with Cody. He had to work with these guys to get to where he was at.
I just like, you know, Tony Khan is, you know, he has a habit of booking, you know, ex-WWE guys a little bit stronger than their homegrown talent outside of like, you know, a select few.
I strongly disagree with that, because if there's anybody that does take chances as a booker, whether it's great or horrible, it's Tony Khan. And in this case, he's taking a chance on Kevin Knight. We've seen them giving him some big matches on Dynamite. Got to work with MJF in a world title match, which I heard like from like backstage like reports that Kevin Knight got high praise for the match that he had with MJF. Speedball and him, I thought jet speed. At first, I was kind of questioning the odd tag team because it was like they don't really have a plan for the two guys. But guess what? But guess what? They found a way to make it work.
I don't know if that's true, but do you know what Jet Speed and Hangman wanted to call their trios team?
What's that?
Horsecock.
Man, I'm not surprised by that. Probably Hangman's idea.
I'm not surprised either. But like, all right, for perfect example, okay, at Forbidden Door.
Why can't you just fucking enjoy AEW? Enjoy something. This is good.
I'm just saying, at Forbidden Door, you know, you had Moxley go over in the match when it should have been Kyle Fletcher in that spot, and he should have beat John Moxley for the title. Kyle Fletcher is one of the most over fucking guys on the planet right now in AEW.
Kyle Fletcher, yes, he is. But when he wins the championship, it's going to mean more. Because guess what? That match with John Moxley, that's where Kyle Fletcher, people started to say, damn, this kid can wrestle. Did Stone Cold beat Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13? No. But people don't talk about that outcome. They talk about that moment because that's when people felt like Stone Cold became a star. Was in that
Stone Cold
match
comparing
against
John
Bret Hart.
Moxley to Steve Austin, bro. Jesus Christ.
But in that match, Bret Hart, that was the first night people really started to see a main event star in Stone Cold. So you don't necessarily have to win the match to be a star. Kyle Fletcher has definitely proved that. But I do think Kevin Knight, absolutely well-deserved.
Shout out to Kevin Knight, man. This is, jet to fly.
And I'm excited to see like what's going to happen now with Speedball.
I know Speedball posted a vlog or whatever, and like the thumbnail was, Kevin Knight holding up the title and Speedball just fucking staring at him.
Yeah, I think they're going to set something up probably long term with that. But Kevin Knight, man, fantastic performer, and I love that we're taking a chance with somebody new. And it seems like a lot of people are excited about this, so we'll have to see what happens.
I'm intrigued by it, man.
All right, let's get into the next match here. For the AEW Women's World Championship, Tekla defends her title against JB Hayter. This, I thought, was a great wrestling match. I wish that maybe there's a little bit more story to it, which I know there was because Tekla was the one to write JB Hayter off of TV by attacking her a while back. But I wish that maybe we got a better video package leading up to this match. But overall, both women looked great. I felt like we got that old JB Hayter for a second. But honestly, I'm happy with the outcome with Tekla retaining the title because it does seem like they're putting a lot of stock in her. She just re-signed with AEW, and I do really want to see what they're going to do with the championship going into All In because I could definitely see them maybe bringing back Britt Baker and doing something there with her and Tekla or Mercedes Moné because I've been hearing some rumors about her possibly being a babyface.
Mercedes, yes. I don't think we're ever seeing Britt Baker back in AEW, bro.
I don't know, with all these podcasters and everybody bothering Tony Khan about it, I think it's only a matter of time.
Tony Khan's like, yeah, I would love to have Britt Baker back on TV. Well, motherfucker, you're the boss. You're the head booker. You can, if you want to hire somebody that looks like Barney to fucking show up on your television show, you can. So if you want Britt Baker back on your television show, book her to be on your fucking television show. It just makes no sense. Too much time has passed.
I will say, if there was an opportunity for Britt to show up, it would have been right here. Her best friend just lost to Tekla.
Yep, and she got screwed because Tekla held the rope. I have a bad feeling we're not going to see Britt Baker back on AWTV.
Probably not. All right, I'll let you take this one away because I got a lot to say.
Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay, man. This was a good match. I liked sort of like the build up to it. I like, the story heading into the match. A week prior, they had a really good segment. It was the night that Jericho showed up. Will Ospreay was like beating Jon Moxley's ass backstage or whatever, and then the rest of the fucking Death Riders showed up. I'm not crazy about Jon Moxley. I'm not crazy about the Death Riders. It's just, that story I feel like is come and gone, and there's really no saving it.
Missed opportunity at World's End when they didn't turn on Moxley for cutting that babyface promo. Missed opportunity.
And we have no idea if Moxley is babyface or is he heel.
And then even Claudio beat him in the Continental Classic too. So like Claudio could have taken that role as like the leader of the Death Riders. And I thought that could have been something interesting.
It could have, because they could have been like, Jon Moxley is not the leader that we thought he was. He let us all down. He was supposed to fight, with his heart and fight for the family. And like, he just, let us all down and disappointed us. We had to fucking get rid of the trash. You know what I mean? Like we should have seen something like that. Got a promo. Like, I don't know. The Death Riders, bro, are fucking literally going to be the death of AEW.
But I did love the build up for this match, though. They did do a good job on Dynamite with this.
Well, I mean, bro, Will Ospreay
also getting United Empire involved too.
Will Ospreay can have a 5-star match with a fucking pillowcase. Like I'm literally convinced. Like you can give him a fucking a soda can and he can fucking make magic happen. So whenever Will Ospreay's, on television, it's a must watch. But I do kind of feel like when it comes to Will Ospreay, and this is something that I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed it a lot, but it just seems like he's one of those guys that Tony Khan just wants to book in matches for the sake of having matches, and like he doesn't give a shit if there's a story or not. He just wants to see Will Ospreay go out there and do cool shit.
I disagree. I see, because dude, Will Ospreay, that's the thing. A lot of people like talk about the wrestling because he's so freaking good. But I think a lot of people really he flies under the radar when it comes to storytelling because the work that he's done since being signed to AEW, we can't just put that under the rug. His feud with MJF with the International Championship, that was great going into All In. Then I thought the feud with him and Kyle Fletcher was fantastic because they created a new star in Fletcher, who was a tag team specialist throughout most of his career. And then Will Ospreay having issues with Don Callis because of their history with New Japan and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then also now him having the issues with Jon Moxley. Like, there's been great storytelling because Jon Moxley basically in kayfabe injured the neck. So that gave Will Ospreay a reason to go after Moxley and the Death Riders when he made his return at Revolution. So overall, like, the storytelling for Ospreay has been there. It's just the booking decisions are questionable, like what happened here during their match with Jon Moxley beating Will Ospreay. And this is where, like, for me, the pay-per-view, it was a 10 out of 10. When we got to here, that's when things started to go downhill for me.
This show was definitely far from being a 10 out of 10 in my own personal opinion or whatever. But I mean, this guy just came back from fucking neck surgery, and you're really gonna fucking just I lost track how many fucking pile drivers he took.
But you want to talk about like the psychology, like you mentioned that about Darby Allin's like being 130 pounds. The psychology, it does make logical sense for a healthy Jon Moxley to be a not 100% Will Ospreay who just came back from the neck surgery. But it's still a stupid fucking decision, I think. Like, and I thought in the beginning of the match when Ospreay hit him with the move right away, I thought that he was like Mox got buried right there. And they were gonna do something like that where like Ospreay is like, holy shit. Like, remember when Kenny Omega took a break and then he came back the first time in AEW and he like squashed a couple people? I thought that was what was gonna happen because there has been a lot of speculation about Will Ospreay going to All In at Wembley and winning the AEW World Championship. Like, I thought that was the direction, but I guess not.
Yeah,
I hated this booking decision. I hated it. Like, I'm over the whole Jon Moxley bullshit at this point.
Yeah, I am too.
Because I feel like, just like Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley could definitely use some time away from AEW TV, and I think it would do so much good than bad for him. Because, like, a lot of the times, like, in pro wrestling, like, people say, oh, like, being off TV is a bad thing. Like, I'm not going to be relevant anymore. I disagree with that. Like, I feel like if you take time away and then you come back, like, it's fresh. It's new. Because I remember when Jon Moxley first debuted with AEW at that Double or Nothing back in 2019. It was a big fucking deal. Mox was a big fucking deal when he beat Chris Jericho at AEW Revolution for the championship. He was a big fucking deal. But it feels like since losing the title to Hangman, it's just like, dude, come on. Like, if there was a time and place for him to take a break, it would have been right after All In. He needs a break. Ricky Knows Best is here in the live chat. Ricky. One of our Thunder competitors. His predictions will be up tomorrow if you guys want to check that out for WrestleMania 42. But yeah, Jon Moxley, horrible booking decision here. Can't believe they did your boy dirty, Ricky. Getting into the next match here, I'll go quick with this one. The Dogs versus the Conglomeration. On Collision Saturday, the Dogs win the championships. And Ricky's really happy about this. So
Right,
I'm
like,
also kind of happy too.
What they did to David Finlay, bro.
And then we had one of the most unnecessary special entrances in pay-per-view history with the collaboration. With
No,
the
that
couch
happened. That
and a
happened.
door.
That happened because they were in Kyle O'Reilly's hometown. He was born in British Columbia, Vancouver.
I knew
This is
Kyle.
where they were.
I knew Kyle O'Reilly was going to be the surprise. But
I did
yeah,
too.
you got the little special entrance here. It was just one of. I can't believe it. How stupid it was, but it was funny, I guess. And then Gabe Kidd, unfortunately, did sustain an injury. That sucks for him.
Right, he posted a video on Twitter, and he was like, "I'm gonna beat these motherfuckers, man."
Ricky saying, "Please don't review this." Laugh my ass off. Yeah, I said it in my chat, and like everybody was cracking up in my live watch along because I never understood the hype with David Finlay. I don't see anything with him, not even in New Japan. Now, out of the three, my favorite's probably Clark Connors.
Clark
But
Connors
man,
looks like a younger Jericho to me.
dude, and then they lost their titles 24 hours later to the collaboration, which, dude, I did love the booking decision here because I really just don't care for the dogs. They're not giving me a reason to care. And also, like, I really do like the chemistry that Roddy has with Orange Cassidy. I like that they've naturally built that because I remember when the collaboration was like first formed, I shit on it. I hated it because I was like, oh, this is just another unnecessary faction. Doesn't make sense here. But they've done a great job at like getting me invested here with Roddy being the serious one, Orange Cassidy being the guy who doesn't give a fuck. They play off each other very well. And then Kyle O'Reilly, it seems like they're actually like he picks up momentum, but then gets little injuries.
Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, they just, I mean, bro, they're miles and miles and miles and miles away from, you know, their time in NXT Black and Gold.
Yeah, but what they're doing right now, though, is working, and it's good. It's obviously not going to be on the level of Undisputed Era, but they're a little bit more later in their careers. And honestly, like with the trio titles, I like random pairs here. With the trio belts, I don't care for storylines. I just want fun 6-man tag matches.
I mean, at least we legitimately have a fucking team with the titles now. That's probably the biggest praise I can fucking give it.
But we need to figure out like what the dogs did to Tony Khan because their booking has been very, very questionable. And David Finlay, I don't see the hype that a lot of these New Japan Pro Wrestling fans have been saying.
The thing is, David Finlay,
he's just a good wrestler.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but his brother, who's in NXT, is better than him.
I feel like he would have been better off going to NXT or whatever, because they would have at least like flushed out a character. They would have had vignettes. They would have had, you know, video packages or whatever. Because like WWE is all about character. AEW is all about, you know, who puts on the better match. That's literally what all of AEW is.
But you see throughout David Finlay's career, like that's all he does is put on good wrestling matches. There's really nothing special to it. And the only reason that he got the popularity that he got, and this might be a hot take, I'm a casual when it comes to New Japan. I don't even really watch.
I'm not even a casual.
But here's what I was gonna say. David Finlay, the reason why he got so popular was because everybody else left New Japan Pro Wrestling and went over to AEW. That's the truth. Or went to WWE. So they had nobody else to fill in the void. So David Finlay ends up taking over Bullet Club and wins the championship. And I'm a casual. So that's like literally all I know is what
I've only watched 2 New Japan shows in my entire life. And that was what's their big show that they do in fucking like January? They just had Tanahashi's last match.
Oh yes, that's the fuck. Why am I?
What the fuck is it called?
I would have gotten this at 5 p.m. on a regular episode of the.
I'm not used to being this active this late.
Hey, this was your idea.
I think it's turning out pretty good though.
What the hell is it?
Something 7. It was like there's always a number out there.
Somebody in the live chat help us.
Ricky, you're here, bro. You're not helping us, man. The fuck?
Well, we got Mr. Geek Me out in the live chat. MJF lost last night.
What are we talking about it? That's the main event topic.
That's our main event topic tonight. Yep.
Wow.
Why am I? This is annoying.
Fucking.
What the hell? What the hell is it called? I'm looking this up right now.
It was
Japan Pro
the one. It always happens in like January.
Yes, it's their biggest show of the year. Watch.
Just write Tanahashi's last match.
Wrestle Kingdom.
Wrestle Kingdom. Oh.
Wow, we're gonna get shit on.
Yeah, we're gonna get shit on.
I hope Ricky turned off the phone and didn't hear any of that stuff. We're gonna edit that in post production.
Wrestle Kingdom 17 I watched. That was the first New Japan show I watched. And then I watched whatever the latest one was with Tanahashi's last match. Those are the only New Japan shows I've ever in my life watched. So you can't even call me a fucking casual.
Well, the dogs, they had their 24 hours of fame. Congratulations to the conglomeration. Let's get into the main event match now. MJF versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. This was a classic.
My favorite
god of pro wrestling versus the devil, MJF, which, man, they did a great job at the storytelling of doing the god versus the devil.
Yep. MJF is just, MJF is just one of those guys, man. He can work any style. He can work, any speed. Like, he can work against anybody, and it's just fucking gonna get over.
Number one pro wrestler in the world right now.
Like, is there anything this guy fucking can't do? Probably not. I would like to see him in a Hell in a Cell match.
MJF is literally the best professional wrestler in the world, and I'm not talking heel. I'm not talking on the mic, because we already know that. He's the best pro wrestler to lace a pair of boots right now in the ring. The most complete wrestler, period. And that's why he was treating the AEW World Championship like a territory belt, because he's trying to be number one in the PWI, because for years people have said, oh, he's a great heel. He's number one at cutting promos, but they've never talked about the wrestling side of it. And that's one thing. If you know MJF like I do, you know that he is a huge professional wrestling fan, especially old school wrestling. Like, a lot of his character he gets from Hot Rod Roddy Piper and a lot of the territory stuff.
Bro, I'm so mad Roddy Piper passed away before MJF fucking exploded.
Oh, dude, we would have gotten a segment if Roddy was alive with the two.
Can you imagine MJF on Piper's Pit, bro? That would have been fucking, that shit would have been uber viral.
But MJF does get the win. And, man, they just did a great match with Kenny and MJF. Like, I got to see their first match that took place at Collision. It was held at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. What a match that was, but this blew that match out of the waters. And MJF just proves once again why he's not another Miz or another EC3. He's MJ fucking F.
And he had one of the best outs of after any match. Like, he just fucking goes up on his throne and I'm the fucking devil. And as the show's ending, he's fucking like getting lowered on that on the platform or whatever to go like backstage.
And that is a perfect shot to end the show. Perfect shot. And then, of course, Darby Allin, I believe before the main event, was backstage with Renee and saying he was going to cash in that title shot on Dynamite this Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about that in our main event topic for this week's We Are Wrestling Podcast Extra. So here we go. I think it's time now to get into the We Are Wrestling weekly news and rumors.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Not used to this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the latest headliners, the rumors, the contracts, the controversy, who's pissed off this week, good booking, bad booking. It's time for the We Are Wrestling weekly news and rumors.
You fucking mark!
It's time for the We Are Wrestling Podcast Extra weekly news and rumors. And we got some good stuff that we're going to talk about this week. Just a reminder to any of the late listeners who have joined us for this live extra, Just want to remind you that there is no WrestleMania topics because we covered all that yesterday on the flagship show, the We Are Wrestling podcast, which is live every Wednesday on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So go watch the prediction episode. It was really awesome, man.
Go give it a listen. It's available wherever you get your podcast, and it's also available on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel. All right, well, let's get into the two companies that are facing each other for that number 2 spot, because AEW Forbidden Door and TNA Slammiversary are both scheduled for June 28th. As it stands, they're going head-to-head. What's your thoughts on this?
I feel like people are blowing it out of proportion, but obviously with everything that's going on with, I
was about to say, can you blame them?
All these matches or whatever that have been getting pulled or whatever from AEW talent was supposed to face TNA talent on all these indie shows. Brian Myers was, he had it scheduled to where it was going to be Nick Nemeth versus MJF. That's no longer happening or whatever. We were going to get Leon Slater and Ricochet, I believe. That's no longer happening or whatever. But I feel like people are blowing it out of proportion because did you ever see, in WWF and WCW's heyday, did you ever see, somebody from WWF go to an indie show and be like, I'm gonna face fucking, Diamond Dallas Page, or I'm gonna face Sting, or I'm gonna face, I feel like people are blowing it way out of proportion. It's always been a thing. This has always been a thing, especially with TNA being in bed with WWE now. People are gonna be like, "Oh, it's a TKO call." It might be Carlos Silva call.
It's a Carlos Silva call. All the freaking people, all these journalists have been saying it's not a WWE thing. It's a Carlos Silva thing, and I agree with them.
But that's always been a thing. Why are people surprised? It's always been a thing, man.
Because we love the Monday Night Wars, Daddy. That's why we're making.
Yeah, but you didn't have fucking, like I said, you didn't have fucking.
Come on now, when AEW first got launched on TNT on Wednesdays, what did WWE do? They moved NXT from Tuesdays to Wednesdays to compete with them to get that feeling.
That's different. We never had fucking, Dynamite's a thing now. Let's fucking book Roman Reigns versus fucking Kenny Omega. We never had those cross promotions and shit like that.
You're right, and that's why it's an interesting situation.
What makes you think it would be okay for, somebody would want their talent to, wrestle somebody from AEW? You know what I mean? Why would you think that'd be okay?
I don't see a problem with it. Why do we have to have tribalism?
I heard there's a lot of bad blood there between AEW and TNA and to begin with, because when TNA and AEW had that partnership, they would have Kenny Omega and stuff on their shows, but Tony Khan would outright refuse to allow anybody from TNA to be on Dynamite.
That's a load of shit. The Good Brothers were on plenty of episodes of AEW TV.
The Good Brothers. Who else?
That's the only facts I have right now.
So, people,
I wasn't prepared, man. I didn't have my research ready.
People just need to stop acting oh my god, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, but it's okay. But here's the big problem here, Danny. It's not the fact that the guys can't wrestle each other. The problem that a lot of people have are TNA are pulling their talent from the shows that independent bookers are booking AEW guys on. That's the problem that a lot of these wrestlers are having. And I know there's been plenty of TNA guys who have expressed frustrations about this. And I think MJF hit the nail on the head with what he said. Kenny Omega went on, said something. Will Ospreay made some good points. Man, this is taking money away from these TNA guys. I can understand if they were making the same money that AEW and WWE superstars are making, but that's not the case here, which is why you do see a lot of TNA guys take bookings, because they're not making a crazy living unless you're probably the Hardy Boys or you're a big name. They're not making as much money as both AEW and WWE. So TNA guys, they rely on getting to work with an AEW guy or being on a bigger independent wrestling card, Because that's the thing too. You have to realize with TNA, those guys are trying. No, hold on a minute. No, those guys are trying to get buzz because they want to get that attention from the fans. Because of course, like if you're not on the big shows, people aren't going to talk about you. But guess what? If you do an independent show, like let's say Leon Slater, for example, is going to wrestle Ricochet on the show, there's going to be plenty of viral moments there that Leon Slater is going to be able to put out on social media. Because that's the thing too at TNA, like you do have the company pushing you, but you still have to go out and be a Matt Cardona, be a Cody Rhodes, be a Drew McIntyre to get people's attention. AEW and WWE they have a very strong social media team to where they don't really have to do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, they haven't been pulled from the actual shows. They're still doing stuff on the shows. TNA just does not want their talent to go up against AEW talent because, like, you know, with them being in bed with WWE and, you know, AEW and TNA not having that good of a relationship, like, are you really gonna, like, is Tony Khan really gonna be like, all right, Ricochet is gonna lose to Leon Slater? You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, Tony Khan actually, that's one thing I could say. He really doesn't care. I forgot what match it was on the indie, or it was on some independent show. Wish I freaking like had this all written down, so I'm just speculating here. But there have been matches where it's been TNA versus AEW on these indie shows, and I've seen TNA people win.
I think people are blowing it way out of proportion. Like, I 100% understand where people are coming from, but they need to just stop acting like this is like a new concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. TNA, if they were getting paid like an AEW star or WWE superstar, then you know what? I understand. But as long as they're not getting the money that
yeah, but bro,
the
like,
number 1 and number 2 are getting, I'm sorry, but they should be able to work
most
with
of the TNA and NXT talent are getting paid double. You think they're not getting paid, you know, when they show up on TNA, or when TNA talent shows up on NXT and fucking, you know, main events, their PLEs and shit like that.
But dude, a TNA contract is really not on the same level as probably the low card guy on AEW.
So a TNA guy is going to make more at an indie show than he will on TNA and NXT combined, getting two paychecks.
He's going to make more money?
I don't think so.
The more bookings, the more opportunities that they get, they make more money from it.
I mean, you know, I don't know.
Why do you think Matt Cardona like worked with like everybody and also did TNA at the same time?
Yeah, but he never signed a contract. He was making decent enough money.
He was smart. All right, well, let's move on now to some WWE news we have here, which, you already know these rumors are bound to happen because after WrestleMania, we do get some call-ups a lot of the times through the years. Well, according to Body Slam Net, sources indicate that JC Jane, All Ego, Ethan Page, Joe Hendry, the former NXT champion, and Sol Ruka have all been heavily discussed for main roster call-ups recently. What's your thoughts on these 4 names?
It would make sense because during the Saturday night's main event, that was John Cena's last match back in December, we saw Sol Ruka have a fantastic match with Bayley or whatever. So she's already on, you know, Triple H's radar or whatever. I don't know how much he keeps up with. You know, I imagine his job having to run SmackDown and Raw takes up a lot of his time. I don't know how often he gets to watch NXT anymore. But, you know, Sol Ruka, absolutely fantastic. Joe Hendry is over as fuck. You know, I love when Booker T sings his song, you know, whenever he comes out. I believe in Joe Hendry. It's just fucking absolutely fucking, it just makes me pop every time. All Ego Ethan Page, I feel like he'd be, you know, a very welcome individual for SmackDown. I could see him being in a storyline with Chelsea Green, and that could involve Matt Cardona and some jealousy kind of shit or whatever. And Matt Cardona and Ethan Page could have some kind of a feud going forward. I know they have, you know, they have a friendship, they have a long history with each other or whatever, you know, especially because they're both into toy collecting and stuff like that. They have a lot of common interests. So I can see him doing that. You know, like JC Jane just lost the NXT Women's Championship at Stand and Deliver, and she had a rematch on NXT this past week, and she didn't win. So I feel like, you know, she's been on NXT long enough. I feel like it is time for her to move on and, you know, sort of, you know, grow a little bit, you know, in a different world or whatever. She's ready. My only thing is do you see a split between Fatal Influence, or do you see them all getting called up as a faction?
I could see them getting all called up as a faction because that's just
WWE needs women. They need women in their division.
Well, I could see them all getting called up because you have the women tag team division, and you are going to need some fresh names after Mania, so it does make sense to do that. And JC Jade, like, she works better in a faction.
Yep.
Like, it all started with Toxic Attraction. That's when she made her NXT TV debut, was with Mandy, with Gigi, and they had something really good going. And then, of course, when Mandy left, Gigi left, JC kind of got lost in the shuffle there for a little bit, but then Fatal Influence became a thing. She goes on to holding the NXT Women's Champion for a pretty long time, also holding the TNA Knockouts Championship at the same time, and really building her stock up. And I think that she's somebody that is going to be very successful on the main roster if they book her the way they did in NXT.
Yep.
But I will say this about All Ego Ethan Page. I do see him probably having the most success besides Sol Ruka out of the group, because Ethan Page has always been a perfect fit for what WWE is looking for, what WWE is all about.
Yep.
Ethan Page brought so much prestige to that NXT North American Championship, probably in my top 3 title runs with that prestigious title. And there's been some big names in the black and gold NXT brand that held that belt. I put All Ego right there with him because he really made that championship relevant. And it honestly makes me excited to see imagine him winning the United States Championship and turning it into the Canadian Championship. Like, there's a lot of things that they could do. They could put him in a tag team with Ricky Saints because they've also been having some pretty good chemistry on NXT TV as of late.
You know who else I could see getting called up? Maybe not right away, but at some point very soon. Ricky Saints. Like, you know, he may not have the physique, but that guy can talk. He knows his way around the microphone, and that's something that WWE looks for, like, more than anything.
I would honestly bring both Ricky and Ethan Page up at the same time, have them as a tag team, maybe give them a tag team title run, and then at some point you could have one of them turn heel because they both have egos. I do see Ethan Page. He reminds me of a younger Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Evolution Randy.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
the reason why I said him and Chelsea Green would, I feel like, you know, work really well together on like the main roster.
AAA mixed tag belts.
Yep. You know,
but that's the thing, dude.
Where Chelsea Green, you know, that viral video, I've never been creamed like that in my life. Wait, what?
Yeah, that was funny. But I do agree here with James all day. Put All Ego on SmackDown because SmackDown needs more talent.
Especially with SmackDown at 3 hours, bro. That's just a chore to get through. Like, if I wasn't streaming, I probably wouldn't watch it, you know. But like, I like hanging out with my audience or whatever in the community. So like, it's always, that aspect's always fun. But just like the overall show is just not fun to watch.
I will say this though about Joe Hendry. I love Joe Hendry a lot. Been a big fan of his going all the way back to like the indies with him doing his parody videos and stuff. Even before he first got signed to Impact Wrestling back in like 2018. I've been following Hendry since like 2015.
I would put Hendry on Raw.
But you see with Joe Hendry, I am afraid that like Danhausen has gotten himself so over. R-Truth is still continuing to carry, like, they have a lot of good comedy gimmicks right now. And that's the thing that scares me is, like, where will Joe Hendry fit in all of that? I think he's going to find a way to make it work because he's that talented.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, dude, right now, like, this is, like, I think, honestly, I will say this right now about the WWE. they might be right now at an all-time high when it comes to comedy characters. Because they got some good ones right now.
Don't forget that when Joe Hendry was still in NXT, like they had him accept Randy Orton's open challenge at WrestleMania.
They see stock in him.
So like, that's why I think he'll do good on the main roster.
Held the NXT title. They probably wanted to see what he could do with a main belt. And Joe Hendry did a good job. And I think especially with the concerts, like he's going to get instantly over. Like even towards the end of last year, they put him on SmackDown and he did like a whole little concert, like made fun of the Miz, and it was good shit. So like, I do see it working. Because like right now, the land of comedy characters are like at an all-time high. It just concerns me just a tiny bit, like not a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, R-Truth and Danhausen, I see them as comedy only. Joe Hendry, I don't look at him as a comedy character. Like, he has comedy elements or whatever. He's funny. Like, he's naturally funny, but he's not like a comedy gimmick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like the main roster, they're gonna try to because of the viral entrance. But hopefully that's not the case. Sol Ruka, on the other hand, this woman is going to be a future main eventer. She is going to hold the Women's World Championship at some point. She is next. Just like how we've been talking about for months now, Obafemi and Trick Williams being next. When it comes to women wrestling, Sol Ruka is next.
Sol Ruka and Lola Vice.
She's incredible, and I see Sol Ruka immediately getting a push for like the Intercontinental title or US.
I want to see Sol Ruka versus Liv Morgan. I think that'd be a really good match.
It would be, and I feel like Sol Ruka, man, she's got it.
They did a good job putting her against Bayley because like Bayley is such a fantastic worker, and she knows how to, because she trains women or whatever. So like she knows how to make somebody look extremely good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Sol Ruka's got all the talent in the world. Great finisher, great presentation. She's great. But let's move on now to our next weekly news and rumors. According to Body Slam Net, the current working plan is for El Grande Americano mask versus mask match to take place on May 30th at Noche de los Grandes in, can't even pronounce that. WWE AAA.
We can tell you.
So I would love to ask you your thoughts on this Americano match happening at a AAA event and not WrestleMania.
I'm kind of relieved, to be honest, because there's been very little like interest in anything that they're doing outside of like, I feel like they're booked week on WWE TV, but when it comes to like the AAA shows, like they're booked really strong and they have some bangers over there or whatever.
They're literally the Rocket Stone Cold of AAA.
Pretty much. Like they're over as fuck.
Yo, now we need to get the Limp Bizkit My Way video with them too.
I'm sure somebody's gonna edit that. But I'm glad it's not happening at Mania. I'm just I will be tuning in and probably live tweeting for that AAA show, or I might even do a live reaction stream to it. I don't know, but it's gonna be fun, interesting, and it's gonna be good to see Chad Gable back on TV. I feel like Chad Gable's the one that's gonna lose because like, bro, Kaiser fucking found his gimmick. He found his niche, bro. He is so fantastic at this character that like they'd be fucking idiots to fucking take it away.
Yeah, Kaiser just stole that gimmick from him, and you know what? It's for the best because Chad Gable, I think, doesn't need that.
Chad Gable's too good.
He's too good. And I am curious to see like what they're gonna do with like the Creeds, because like I do miss them with Chad Gable, and I want to see something there because I do think that they just have really missed the ball with them. But I do really like this match happening on AAA and not WrestleMania because it's different. And it gives us something to look forward to, and that's something that's pretty hard to do after the Super Bowl, which is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But let's move on now to our last We Are Wrestling Weekly News and Rumors before we get into our main event topic. There's been plenty of media, plenty of interviews coming out this week, all in the wrestling world, but there was just something that I did want to share because it is like very like heartwarming. During an interview with the All Smoke podcast, CM Punk discusses making peace with Triple H, watching Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior apologize to each other made him realize the shit ain't worth it. So here's what CM Punk said in the interview. My favorite thing is when Triple H isn't at Raw. Not because the boss is away. It's because I know he's a daddy/daughter dance or he's at his daughter's football game. It's wholesome. We've had the conversations. It's how we got to a point where it looks like, can we get you to come back? After a while, I reached out to Triple H and I was just like, I know he had this heart condition thing. I had seen a clip of Hogan and Warrior, and everything we do is filmed. So what's real, what's not, and it's Hogan, so you don't know what's the truth. But they're just having this conversation, and they're kind of apologizing and forgiving each other, and then a couple days later, Ultimate Warrior dies. It just made me realize that the shit ain't worth it, and I don't care. So pretty much CM Punk went on this interview and was asked about like what made him decide to clear the air with Triple H, because for years, like during his first run with the WWE, Triple H and him clashed heads. They didn't really see eye to eye. And I remember CM Punk's last day, which was Monday Night Raw after the Royal Rumble in 2014, pretty much like in the office with Vince and Triple H, and pointed at Triple H and said, I don't need to work with him. Like, fuck him. He's the reason why, he's one of the many reasons I'm leaving. So, like, we know that there's been this animosity between Triple H and CM Punk for years, but obviously now that Triple H is running things, Vince is no longer there, CM Punk is back, and it seems like he's never been happier in the business right now. He's about to be in the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania. So I would love to know, like, your thoughts on this, hearing this. Because life's too short.
It is too short, and it's not like surprising, you know. It feels like CM Punk has done a lot of growing up, you know. Like, are you the same person you were, 10, 15 years ago? Probably not. Like, and if you are the same person, then you're not living life the right way. I'm not the same person I was when I was a teenager. I was an asshole when I was an asshole when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, I've done some questionable stuff in my high school years. As far as like bullying and stuff like that, but like you just grow and learn from those situations, and you just do what you got to do to make yourself a better person, and it's just obviously life is too short, and with Triple H's heart issues or whatever, it's like you want to make up before something potentially life-threatening happens even more, because like we could get off this stream right now and fucking I'm gonna go to fucking 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee, and, some fucking Final Destination shit, happens. So
let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, let's hope, man. Knock on wood if you have some. So like it's a very wholesome thing or whatever, and shout out to Punk for recognizing that.
And I thought, like, out of all the interviews, something to talk about on this Xtra, I thought that this would be a good one because life is too short. And CM Punk and Triple H, like, we know the history that they've had. And it's so cool to just see them be able to work together and make WWE what it is today, even though there's a lot of things that we critique, a lot of things that we criticize here on the podcast, a lot of things we might not agree with. But one thing that we all can probably agree with is CM Punk being back in WWE is best for business.
Yep, 100%.
And having Triple H sitting in Gorilla is definitely a lot better than having Vince there. And the only reason Triple H, a lot of people hate what's happening, is because he has to listen to a new guy that doesn't know anything about wrestling, and that's Ariel, who's the CEO of TKO.
Mm-hmm.
So Triple H is the one that gets a lot of shit for it, but it's really cool though to see that like CM Punk was able to find peace. Same with Triple H, because we all do grow, we all do change throughout this crazy thing that we call life.
Yep.
And I do think that, like, man, it's great that like these two were able to put their differences to the side, learn something about one another, and just move forward, because I can't picture WWE right now without CM Punk.
I know
been
it'd
one
be
of the
strange.
many
Like,
things I look forward to.
what would Roman be doing? You know, at WrestleMania this year, if Punk was not in the company.
Probably working with Brock again.
Either that or fucking he'd be working with fucking one of his cousins. Speaking
He's
of
got
Roman,
a lot of those.
Speaking of Roman, I want to touch on real quick. Did you see that video he posted on X earlier today?
I unfortunately haven't got the opportunity to. Like, I bet when I tell you, like,
I feel like
I can't even shit in peace.
I feel like we need to get a live reaction, man. I feel like we need to get
All
a
right,
live
pull
reaction.
it up. Pull up the video. It's you said it was a social media video, so WWE can't get us, right?
Yeah. It's
because they've been getting We Are Wrestling enough with the freaking copyright strikes.
I know.
It's bullshit. Oh, did I tell you the news about the Pat McAfee reaction? My dispute was reviewed, and guess what?
What?
Those fuckers at TKO win again.
What do you mean?
So nobody will ever get to see my reaction of the Pat McAfee and Randy Orton thing from last Friday.
Damn.
Yep, I know. Sorry, We Are Wrestling Maniacs. I tried. But Danny right now is looking it up, the Roman Reigns video. And I'm going to get a live reaction of my thoughts on it. Oh, yeah, here I got you. Let me... Oh, you already got it.
I hope you're able to... Can you hear this?
Yeah.
You can?
Yep. Higher it up a little bit. Or, yeah, go all the way up with it.
It already is all the way up.
All right. Play it.
He's watching a video of Punk from an interview.
I like the camera angle. Wonder how many takes this took him.
Title 3 times. You've had it, what, the whole year. You're not a fighting champion. You're not even a fighter. We've seen how that went. Coddled by management because of money, and they've known that since the beginning. I told them I'm an unsigned billion-dollar check. Go back and find it. It's in the archives. You don't have that type of confidence because you're not the type of man I am. You're not cut from the same fabric as me. It blows my mind that you think we're fucking equals.
Ooh.
And which way? It's only going to take the first couple of minutes for the whole world to see. There's no way we could ever be on the same level. We're coddled. The whole industry coddles you just by having you in it.
They fucking coddle you too.
Those were tough guys. We've seen what happens when you try to be a tough guy.
1,316 days of being coddled.
We put our whole reputation, the whole art form on the line for you because what? 100,000 internet marks love you from the beginning? Let's go back to your journey days when you were on the indies. It was the shits. An embarrassment.
Your stuff at FTW was embarrassment.
You're
this
the
is
reason
good.
You don't let marks in the business. Keep my fucking name out your mouth. On Sunday.
You got a little Rikishi there.
It ends for you.
Like when Rikishi talks about how they like don't book the Usos right, his sons. Like
so what's your reaction on that, man?
Like when he like brought that up, like that's like all I could think about. Like when he like raised his voice, like it reminded me of like listening to like a Rikishi podcast right there. But my thoughts on it, like it was a great promo, probably one of his best ones. I wish that maybe he did this on TV not inside a car. Like, why? Like, he should have been more prepared. Like, he had plenty of time to prepare those lines to cut on CM Punk.
The thing is, I feel like they do it on social media like this because they can get away with a little
Gain
bit
more
more
people's
say,
attention.
and not just that, but they can say more. Like he can't be.
Yeah,
he
but
can't
also
go
goes
on,
viral too.
Yeah, but he can't
That's
go
why
on.
they're doing it.
He can't go on Raw and be like, "Keep my name out of your fucking mouth." Like, you know, he just can't say that.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So
no, I get it. I thought it was solid. Like, I just wish that like he brought up like the UFC reference like on Monday Night Raw.
They'll probably
that
play
would have been.
tomorrow on.
I don't care like if they're gonna play it or not, but like I'm saying is like, dude, they like that would have been better if he brought up the UFC thing than the whole "you're old."
Yeah,
like that's like what I'm trying to say here. Like it was great. I enjoyed it, even though the WWE's been coddling Roman, but it was good. Like it delivered. And honestly, like it's gonna get people excited because that's gonna pop up on their feed.
It's a good way of using social media because it like sort of like blurs the lines because like you don't
Roman's
know
got millions of followers too. So
you
like,
don't know what to work and what to shoot. Like
now
he
people
legitimately seems like he fucking hates Punk.
Yeah, but also too on top of that, like one of those 8 million followers that he probably has across all of his social medias, they see that video and they say, "Ooh, maybe I want to tune into this," because a lot of the times, like in boxing, those are the most viewed fights, are the real rivalries, because guess what? Rivalries create cash. And that's
that video is sitting at
that's something that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart did.
It has 1.1K comments. It's got 5.7K reposts. It's got 32K likes, and it's got 3.2 million views.
Exactly, and that's more views combined than what Raw and SmackDown are getting, and you could even throw AEW and TNA in there.
Yep.
So like using social media is a powerful weapon because of the amount of views you can get. And honestly, Roman doing that, smart, because more people are now going to look forward to the fight on Sunday.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was good.
I enjoyed it. I like when like that's a great use of social media too. Like you have a social media presence, you might as well use it. Just like, you know, when Kevin Owens was feuding with Sami Zayn or whatever, he filmed that video outside of Sami's house, whatever, and then showed Sami playing with his kid, and like, you know, it got on more of a personal level, whatever.
That's why,
Danny, a little bit more interested.
That's why I want more stuff outside the arena for these shows.
Agree.
Because it could just do so much for a storyline. Like I still to this day remember Edge going into John Cena's house, John Cena's dad's house.
Smacking his dad, yeah.
Triple H throwing Randy through the picture window, going into their match at WrestleMania 25. I love when they do things that are outside the arena because there's just more personal storytelling involved there. And I think CM Punk and Roman, they could have benefited doing stuff like that.
I like the Drew and Cody's.
Like imagine like doing like segments like throughout Monday Night Raw, like having Roman Reigns like just visit Chicago and then just do stupid shit, like maybe like take a piss like on something or like insult like the city of Chicago or like do stupid things. Like
Drew McIntyre did that. Drew McIntyre did that when he was feuding with CM Punk.
Yeah, it was great.
He actually went to Mendy's Donuts, and that was a reference to the fucking the media scrum in AEW.
Yeah. Like that was good shit. Why do you think people loved the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk feud? Because it was real heat there.
I like the Drew McIntyre and Cody, you know, what Cody, you know, showed up at his house, but I feel like it was just too cinematic and like I want something
I don't want
raw
cinematic.
and real.
I want the raw, uncut, unedited. That's what I want.
Yep.
Like these live extras.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think it's time for the main event.
Let's get it, man.
It's time for your main event topic. I wish I had like the energy right now to like do the dance moves, but it's midnight and I've been running off like 3 hours of sleep every night this week for Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
the grind has definitely been real. So much.
I've enjoyed tonight though.
I've enjoyed it too. I'm having a good time. All right, well,
getting into our main event topic for this week's episode of the pod. This all happened yesterday when we do our normal episodes of the We Are Wrestling podcast, which of course we probably would have talked about it. It would have been our main event topic yesterday, but we had WrestleMania 40 predictions.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been our main event topic or whatever, because we usually end the podcast around 7:30-ish or whatever, so this match wouldn't have happened. So we would have had to wait till next week.
But you're right. It would be a regular news topic because of the speculations and rumors that Darby Allin was going to win. We'd probably talk about that. And then next week it would be our main event. But let's talk about it. Darby Allin this past Wednesday on Dynamite defeats MJF for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Let's talk about it.
I knew it was gonna happen, man. Like I was texting in the group chat that we have, whatever, and I wasn't definitively sure if they were actually gonna go through with it until we got that backstage segment with Sting. And knowing how Sting is, he wants to be in retirement. He doesn't really like, to travel too much anymore. He barely likes to, I think in December was his last, last year was his last year, doing cons and face paint or whatever. But he was all painted up and shit like that.
Well, and he only said, when it comes to the face paint stuff, just to correct you, only for Comic-Cons and conventions. He's not going to do the face paint. He'll still do it on TV.
Well, yeah, but I once I saw him, I knew they're not going to fly this dude out, and not have Darby win. You know what I mean? So I knew once I saw Sting, bro, I was like, he's winning. And sure enough, he won. I love the promo at the beginning of the show though. Darby Allin was he was really emotional. He was almost crying, almost in tears or whatever. And obviously knowing that pro wrestling is scripted and predetermined, I can't help but to think he knew he was winning that night. You could clearly tell, you don't get that emotional unless you know for a fact, you busted your ass and you're finally going to be achieving that one thing that you've always wanted to achieve.
Because that's one thing Darby has always said throughout his career. He's the worst businessman out there. He has said that, and he probably never thought that this was ever going to happen, because Darby Allin has even said he doesn't go and politic for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever opportunities he gets, he's going to go out there and perform and entertain the fans.
Yep, 100%. Look, I don't want to sit here and sugarcoat anything. I like Darby Allin. I'm a huge I honestly don't know if there is a bigger Darby Allin fan than I am.
I'm definitely a bigger Darby fan.
I love the whole punk rock lifestyle, and I fucking love his music. I fucking just, his face paint, just his overall attitude. I just fucking love everything about this fucking guy. I'm not sure about this, man. Do I think Darby Allin should have won the title at some point? Yes, 100%. But I mean,
have had it at a pay-per-view.
MJF just went through an hour-long Texas death match and beat Hangman Adam Page. He wrestled almost an hour the other day, Kenny Omega. And you're telling me he loses to Darby Allin in 3 minutes with, a headlock takeover. It's just I understand why they went that route.
Drops.
I understand why they went that route. But I feel like that damages not only MJF, but it damages Kenny Omega, it damages Hangman Adam Page. Because these guys fucking wrestled MJF for over an hour, and you're telling me that they couldn't beat him, but yet Darby Allin can in 3-4 minutes.
It's an old school thing that MJF is doing. You want me to explain it to you real quick?
You don't need to explain it to me, and that's fine. I understand why. I'm not an idiot. I know why it was done. I'm not 100% against him being the world champion or whatever. Just the way that they went about it, and I just feel like it made what Kenny Omega and him did. It just I don't know. Does that take any credibility away from Hangman and Kenny Omega, two of the biggest stars AEW has? Because they couldn't beat MJF, and they fucking use syringes and all kinds of crazy shit. But yet Darby Allin just does a couple coffin drops in the headlock takeover.
Well, first off, MJF was caught off guard completely that this match was even happening, shut his phone off after he won, pretty much was ignoring.
I will say I like that.
After the show, he had no idea walking into that arena that Darby Allin had a world title shot. Didn't even pay attention to the Andrade versus Darby match because he was so focused on his match with Kenny Omega, which that was a nice little detail that he did in that interview arriving into the arena. That was brilliant. So one, MJF was caught off guard. Two, Kenny Omega brought out the best in him. So if there was a time for MJF to lose the belt, especially 3 minutes, being completely off guard against a guy who doesn't take no for an answer, somebody who can inflict more pain than the average person in being Darby Allin. Like, I think if anything, it made the most sense having this happen literally 72 hours after he had one of the biggest matches of his career against one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the world. And honestly, like, here's a point that I might make that I could see like both sides of what you would say, but I feel like you're a huge Attitude Era guy, right?
Yeah.
You love the Attitude Era. That's your favorite pro wrestling of all time, correct?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
All right, so I want you to look at this now from a different perspective here, because this whole Darby Allin thing, the reason why I felt so good about all of this that happened. Okay, I would have had the match a lot longer with him and MJF. I think we all would have, of course. Yep. But it's that feel-good moment, just like Mankind beating The Rock on that random episode of Monday Night Raw, when the momentum completely changed in the Monday Night Wars. WCW spoiled that Mankind, Mick Foley, was winning the championship.
Yeah, wasn't that Bischoff that spoiled it?
Yep, so everybody was tuning into it.
Yeah.
Darby Allin, on the other hand, I think we're going to see an increase in viewership because these reporters, Fightful, Wrestling Observer, they were all saying that Darby is speculated to win the world championship tonight. Yep. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, even with Mick Foley during that time, it didn't make sense for him to win the championship and beat The Rock, right?
Around that time, yeah.
And not really, though, because there was big names in the Attitude Era. Yes, Mick Foley's one of them, but he's not on the he wasn't on the level of The Rock, Stone Cold.
No, but there was still a lot of story that went into that. You know, The Rock and Stock Connection and stuff like that. Like,
okay, but now look, MJF and Darby Allin, there's story there as well, too, and it goes all the way back to the Independence with that headlock takeover.
Yes,
that's been a thing.
Did Mick Foley beat The Rock in 4 minutes?
That's why I'm set like that. I just said, let's substitute that part out because I know we all believe that it should have been longer. Even with the circumstances of him going in that ring with Kenny Omega for over an hour. Should have been a little bit longer, this match. At least 10 minutes. So, Darby Allin winning this, it's one of those moments where, okay, it doesn't make sense, but it's a feel-good moment because Darby Allin's a day one guy who busted his ass, doesn't politic, and he is just like us. And he finally gets the big moment, finally gets the opportunity that we thought was never going to happen, because every time he would get to that final level, something always happened. Whether it was him going to Mount Everest or him sustaining an injury, it was always just one step short. And I think just this happening the way it did, it's such a Darby Allin thing. And I'm all for it because I do think that with the direction that AEW is going in 2026, I think Darby Allin being champion, like if there's anybody besides MJF holding that title, I would want it to be Darby.
Do you think that Darby Allin would have benefited a little bit more if there was more of a like there was a lot of story between MJF, like they have a lot of history between MJF and Darby Allin or whatever. But like this set, you know, for the title, like I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about like what happened 6-7 months from you know, ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been beneficial to like hype it up, build up a story, have video packages and really tell the story of Darby Allin versus MJF. They could have main evented a pay-per-view or whatever. Maybe Tony Khan could have fucking later on in the year could have booked a fucking pay-per-view in fucking in Seattle or whatever. He still could have been in front of his home audience, but really like getting that big match feel, that big moment instead of just on a random Dynamite. I kind of feel like they did this to get a little bit of hype, knowing that it's WrestleMania week. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on this week, and the last thing people are worried about right now is AEW. I just feel like they could have done this in such a bigger way and just had it mean a little bit more than how Darby Allin won his first world title.
You see, I think it's brilliant the way that they did this on the week of WrestleMania, because right now, a lot of fans have expressed frustrations over the price increase with WWE and TKO.
A lot of people
literally Pat McAfee is cutting these promos and they're insulting us as professional wrestling fans. So of course, if there's a time and place for AEW to take a shot without taking a shot, it would be on Dynamite having this moment happen. Because guess what? We're doing a whole We Are Wrestling podcast extra on a WrestleMania predictions week. Most of the topics that we're talking about right now is not WWE related. That is not fucking normal the last couple years of AEW, because we do Mania week every year here on the We Are Wrestling channel. And I don't think we ever talked about AEW the last 2 or 3 years during Mania week. But guess what? We're here right now talking about this because it's a big fucking deal that it happened.
I definitely understand that. I understand that take or whatever, and I appreciate.
You think I'm happy my GOAT MJF lost the title? Absolutely not.
I just
he was
feel
on
like
such a great reign.
I just
happy
feel like being on Twitter and just scrolling and seeing, because obviously, my entire timeline is nothing but fucking pro wrestling creators and pro wrestling people, whatever. I just feel like more people are upset about this than are happy, and I just feel like Darby Allin, like, he deserved such a bigger moment than just on for 3 minutes on a random ass Dynamite. You know what I mean?
Daddy, there's more fans in pro wrestling that are not on Twitter and X. Just putting that out there.
Oh, I know.
X is a very negative place. Even the happiest stuff can happen in pro wrestling. The IWC will find a way to completely shit on it.
I just, I would have loved, a deeper story, some video packages, really like breaking down the history between MJF and Darby Allin, a main event at a pay-per-view.
But I do see that happening though. Still, I think that MJF will be double or nothing.
MJF's winning the title at double or nothing, and then he's potentially going to be dropping the title to Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay. Come all in. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I can see that happening, but it's just one of those random feel-good moments, and honestly, at times, I think it's okay, even if there isn't a story or stuff. We just have to see this all play out. Like, MJF got really, really comfortable as champion, and I think if there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there wasn't social media, I think a lot of us would have been surprised in real live time that Darby Allin won the match.
Did you happen to see what MJF tweeted?
Yeah, MJF is losing his fucking mind right now. I can't wait to see Mark Sterling, though, at AEW TV trying to appeal this.
I know, right?
If there's a time and place for MJF to call his lawyer, it's now. But overall, man, like,
he said, what the actual fuck at Tony Khan, this will not stand. And then he's like, he hit me in all capital letters. He hit me in the dick. What kind of lowlife does that?
That's our GOAT right there. That's our GOAT. But overall, man, I'm really happy for Darby Allin, despite maybe they could have done it a little better, but it's just one of those feel-good moments. He's getting rewarded for all the hard work, all the sacrifice, all the dedication that he's had with AEW.
Yeah, like I'm happy about it.
Dude, let me tell you, dude, that promo in the beginning of the show gave me the chills, because Darby, you could just tell, man. You could just tell, like, he was ready. He wanted it. He was laser focused.
Because the dude was homeless, before AEW. He was living in his car, fucking wrestling for fucking peanuts and fucking cheeseburgers at fucking bingo halls.
But you see, like, if there was a Darby Allin way of winning a world championship, it would be exactly what happened last night on AEW Dynamite. And I think some people are just a little thrown off because we all thought that it was going to happen at like AEW All In or something where they have this crazy 1 hour match and then Darby hits him with the headlock takeover 1, 2, 3. I remember that being my prediction for like the longest time when MJF did win the championship his second time. I said, I bet Darby Allin's going to win the Owen Hart Cup, go on to AEW All In. MJF, they're going to rewrite all of this, and then the headlock takeover is going to happen. And I think just a lot of people right now, they don't know how to feel because there's some little things that we all would have changed here. Yep. But it's also that feel-good moment that, like, it's not a former WWE guy that got the championship. It's Darby fucking Allin.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy about it. I just, I always think like somebody like that, somebody that's busted their ass for this company deserves a much bigger moment than just 3 minutes at the end of a fucking random ass show that nobody's gonna fucking remember 2 weeks.
Yeah, but guess what? One of the critiques that we had, Danny, for forever with AEW was why are the Dynamites after the pay-per-views horrible? Mm-hmm. There's no story, there's no direction, there's nothing. But guess what? For the first time in probably AEW company history, the whole show was built around this. And it was a good episode. It was an actual good episode after a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's a W for AEW, in my opinion.
Definitely. Shout out to MJF, because you definitely know this was his idea.
For sure.
He's a very selfless individual. And shout out to Darby Allin, man, the new and the current AEW World Champion, Let's see what he does, man. Do you think he has any title defenses before MJF again, or
one more? I think before Double or Nothing.
I could see. I want to say I could see him giving a title shot to Brody King, but I mean, I don't know. One of the funniest things about this whole thing is after Darby won, right? They had people coming out, from the back or whatever. I saw fucking Evil Uno, and I was like, oh my god, the Job Squad's getting TV time.
Oh man, yeah, they've been killing it over there on Ring of Honor.
Can't believe they fucking have them people show the fuck up.
But anything else before we close off this week's episode?
No, man, I think we covered it. It's late. You got work in the morning, and
I do.
I have to get the kids up for school in the morning. So,
all right. Well, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide that hung out with us, all 15 of you, just across X, Facebook, and YouTube, we appreciate you guys so much. WrestleMania week has been such a huge success here on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel. We are right there, guys, which if you guys have not checked out the content that we've uploaded this week, it's all up on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel. Also, additional content, a part of our We Are Wrestling Thunder Championship. We have special interviews that I did with Casual Cam, Old School Phil, Jungle Boy Jordan, and Ricky Knows Best sent a video in with their predictions because they're all competing for a new championship. If you guys want to see our locked-in answers, myself, Danny, and Rage, you can check out the We Are Wrestling Podcast episode 204. Yesterday's episode, we gave our full predictions for WrestleMania. It's a must-watch, and we even put over WrestleMania 17. Also, just in time for WrestleMania, go get yourself a new We Are Wrestling shirt. Plenty of different styles, including this brand new We Are Wrestling is Unreal shirt, available now on Pro Wrestling Tees. So much great merch you can get on there. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're listening to this, give us a 5-star review, not just any review, a best one review, and download this episode. Go follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok for more additional content. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac, you're already over on the YouTube channel where you get the best pro wrestling content, recorded or live. You get a live podcast every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You get extras during the big PLE weeks. You also get you get reactions, vlogs, so much additional content.
There's a Blitzkrieg vlog that's going to be out tomorrow.
There will be a Blitzkrieg vlog coming out tomorrow as well with WWE Fan Going to Indie Show Part 2. We recommend you guys to hit that subscribe button now and turn on the notifications.
There's a crazy-ass death match in this vlog involving Bear Bronson of the System from TNA. You're not going to want to miss it.
New TNA World Tag Champ. But to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, my links are down below. Danny's links are down below. And we'll also be live this Saturday and Sunday for WrestleMania Night 1 and, of course, Night 2. Because, of course, you already know we are taking over. Peace.